There we go. Welcome to the Generational Wealth Power Within call. I'm just so grateful to be here with you on tonight. In this side of this community, we focus on the 6 keys to wealth. And I'm just so grateful to be part of such a growth community and, just to stay observant and to stay in such a energy space where we're just continuously growing and going through our battles every single week and acknowledging our achievements as well as we continue this journey. And the 6 keys that we focus on is our mindset, our mental, our emotional, which is our attitude, our spiritual, which is Bible-based, our physical, which is our body, financial, of course, which is money, and then leisure, which is your relationships and what you do to go out here and enjoy the world and enjoy pursue your dreams and goals, right? So that's what we do here in Generational Wealth. So real quick, one thing I want to say is please go to the chat box and share what you are grateful for on tonight. Please, please, please go to the chat box and share what you're grateful for on tonight. And always remember, you can be grateful for things that have not happened in the present yet, all right, on the physical plane, but understand that everything comes from the spiritual side first, all right? So please drop in the chat box what you're grateful for. I'm grateful to be back home and just grateful to God for a roof over my head. I just got back from traveling for the past week. I was in the Florida Keys, Siesta Keys, and Sarasota all weekend, and it was just a beautiful experience, man. But overall, I'm just grateful for God to have the experience for my family, to come back and say I have a bed to sleep in, a roof over my head, food to eat, AC, water, fridge, everything. You know what I'm saying? A lot of things that people feel so entitled to have. Understand that ultimately it's a blessing. So please drop in the chat box what you're grateful for on tonight. And we're going to go ahead and get started and rock and roll with this call. All right. So real quick, I want to come from tonight about the seed of expectancy. All right. The seed of expectancy. And I want to give you guys a definition of expectancy, right? Screen says she is grateful for her family and growth. I love it. I love it. I pray that God continues to bless your family and your entire life journey as well. So expectancy, the definition of it, I don't know why my phone is taking all day. Give me 1 second. Okay. It's a strong belief that something will happen or be the case in the future. All right. So we have the definition of expectation, which is pretty much assuming something was happening, right? A lot of times people use assumptions in the wrong situations where maybe you're having a conflict with somebody. Maybe you're waiting for a result on a new career, a new purchase. And when you're thinking about what's going to happen, a lot of times we assume the worst, right? Anybody ever been there before? Yes or no? We assume the worst. We expect the worst because it's a strong belief that something will happen, right? It's a belief that someone will or should achieve something, right? So we have to be able to take our conscious mind, we've got to develop ourselves. For instance, when you're driving, you are aware that there may be other people on the road that you have to be aware of. You got to look out for certain people who may be drunk driving, carelessly driving on their phone. So you're not just driving inside the lanes. All right. You have to drive inside the lanes and also be aware, all right, of what's going on around you. Mr. Alfred said it's a struggle to consciously assume positively. It's a struggle until you make a conscious decision, Mr. Alfred, to change the way you think. And I will share how do you change that as well, because I'm a person where I actually get on people's nerves that I'm so positive. So you can become instinctively positive. I want you to know that. All right. So we have to first have an expectation of to become, to be positive. All right. So it doesn't mean that you won't have little responses, right? Somebody may cut you off. It doesn't mean you won't react in certain moments, but you'll know how to control how you react. All right. So that's called emotional intelligence, which is your attitude. Okay. But real quick about expectation is that it's a strong belief that something will happen. Okay. So if you plant a seed, right, and you water it with belief, then it's going to grow. Whatever you focus on expands. Okay. So if we take a seed, doesn't matter what plant. I love Earl Nightingale's. I've listened to it hundreds of times. You become what you think about. The strangest secret, right, is you become what you think about. And he basically has this nightshade. There you go. And so he talks about nightshade and and corn. And then he talks about what you water, and whatever you water, you're going to produce. So you have to take that into your same mindset and understand where you have those positive thoughts and those negative thoughts. Well, here's your answer, Mr. Alfred, is how do you instinctively have a positive mindset? Well, the first thing is, for me personally, all right, everybody, I tell people I just love God. All right. I actually believe my love, try to go back so far. I just think it's the love of God and it's the love of my family, but ultimately how to think positively for yourself, right? And for me, first, the advice I would tell somebody is get in a relationship with God. I would tell you to buy a Bible, New International Version, and I would tell you to start with the book of Proverbs. I would tell you to read all of the New Testament because it starts to show you unconditional love, all right, through Jesus' story, all right? So I tell people, I don't know your belief system, I don't know your faith, but if you can still take a good story and apply it to your life in some kind of way, that first of all would change the dynamic of how you understand people. And that what helped me was that, I dealt with depression in my high school. I dealt with lack of self-love and low self-esteem in high school. And it was me I started reading the story of Jesus, honestly. And I was like, man, this dude was super cool. He was healing folks. He was loving on folks. These people still was mean to him, right? And so I was like, man, he stayed positive. But how do you possess being positive? Well, the first thing is, it kind of boils down to the 6 keys of wealth. What books do you read? I just purchased a new book. I'm not going to lie. It's been at least a week. I haven't opened it yet. By one of my favorite authors, Neville Goddard. All right. It's actually like 12 books and 14 books inside this collection. But I focus on who's going to tell me something to add value to my life. That's the first question. First question is, what are you listening to that adds positivity to your body, to your mind, to your spirit? All right. As I became more spiritually developed and more personally developed, I started having a distaste for things I used to enjoy. For instance, I grew up in, the 2000s was my period for trap music, Jeezy, T.I., Eminem, Tupac, like all these folks, right? And the language is just crazy. You hear the N-word a lot, you hear cursing words. And so Jeezy dropped a new album in the last year, and I wanted to listen to the album so bad because I'm a huge Jeezy fan. So I literally went on iTunes and looked for the clean version, because what's starting to happen is I am distasteful for hearing negative language all the time. And what happens is, if you hear it enough, you'll repeat it. You'll say it, like memorizing songs, memorizing words, right? Everything that we've learned, most of the part, has come from a book. It's come from some type of information. So what are you listening to? I challenge you, just take the next 72 hours. Usually I tell people 21 days, right? But just start off small. Take the next 72 hours and eliminate anything. It doesn't just have to be music. It could be movies. I was like, I don't want to hear no movies with a whole bunch of language. It's hard to watch television these days because everything is so toxic. And if you're not aware of how to separate yourself from that wall, then you'll be submissive and be vulnerable because you don't have the discernment to not allow it to penetrate into your spirit and your mind, right? So the first question you have to ask yourself is, right, what are you listening to, right? It's 4 ways to gain these things, right? So what am I listening to? The people that I'm around, do they add value to your life or do they drain you? The information that you listen to, the information that you're watching on TV, news, even on social media. I get annoyed quickly on social media if I just say, let me see what everybody else got going on. A lot of times I'm more intentional about what I go watch on social media, which I'm a super nerd. A lot of times it's personal development, it's financial growth, it's all stuff about growth, right? Growth and development. And then I'll watch some sports, and then you'll see a whole bunch of music. And so sometimes I'll say, well, let me check on my friends. Let me check on how people are doing, and that doesn't necessarily tell you how they're doing, but people could just put some information online. And I get annoyed quickly because it's like, okay, I don't want to see this no more. And the people who really, rock with me, I usually we talk on the phone and we text each other, stuff like that. So, but I get really irritated quickly because as you grow yourself, you become completely disinterested in a lot of things that you used to just be involved in. So, that's another thing. And then information, what do you listen to? Are you reading a book a month, right? 10 pages a day is usually about 300 pages. The average book is around 250 pages, no more than 300. So you can read a book a month. All right. If 10 pages is too aggressive, because that's an advocate reader, you could do a page a day. All right. Or 5 pages a day. Right. 3 pages a day. You just, pick that number, read through it, and you make it a habit. You don't deter away from it. All right. So information that you're reading, you're listening to, the people that you're around, even your workspace. You may have negative people in your workspace. You got to talk to them. Hey, listen, I'm on a fast right now where I can't listen to different things. I want to spend more time in my thoughts. I want to spend more, because I tell people, if it's hard for you to spend time alone, a lot of times people say they don't like what they think, what they're thinking about. And so they drown themselves in mindless and mind-numbing information, typically because they just don't want to speak about what they're dealing with. They don't want to face what they're dealing with. And so I've been guilty of that, where I've dealt with something emotionally, and then it's rare that it happens. It has to be a very traumatic experience, for like losing my grandma or something like that. Where I'll do something, grief is understandable. So usually if it's not grief, then I'm really good. You know what I'm saying? So just want to give you those things, Mr. Alfred, and you just have to be intentional about it. If you do it long enough, then you'll evolve, right? You do it long enough, your mindset will change. You have to just be very intentional about making the change. You're not going to say, hey, you don't wake up positive. It has to be developed. All right. You got to water the seed. All right. Water that corn so that you can. And then what'll happen is you start having the instinctive positive mindset. You'll be more calm. It's a lot of wisdom in Proverbs as well. And you don't just listen and read these things one time. You read it the first, like this book, I'm going to probably read this book several times. My other author, Mr. Dr. Joseph Murphy, I've read his book probably 5 times. And I'll take a different highlighter every time, or different pen or something. It looked like a chicken scratching their book at this point, because I dissect, okay, I read it the first time and it changes my awareness. But now that I have a heightened level of awareness, my interpretation is going to be different, right? So you got to dissect and get where the author is coming from. Use your dictionary, look up words. I promise you, a lot of words that you thought had one meaning, it definitely doesn't mean it. So you want to verify meanings. And then ultimately, the other thing is you want to make sure that one thing you want to make sure you do also is you want to have what I call a sensory experience. You want to stimulate yourself. What are your goals, your dreams, your passions? What are your monthly goals? And you always want to put yourself in an experience to stimulate your senses, your taste buds, your hearing, your smell, your sight, your hearing. And you want to just massage it, massage those experiences. And sometimes your dreams may be so huge and big, where maybe you can't get that right physical experience, but you can get on a laptop. Like, say somebody want to take a vacation and they live in Georgia and there's not a beach nearby. Well, get online, look up different travel sites, look up different influencers who doing these different vacations. Go buy a bag of sand, whatever you need to figure out how to get that feeling, right? And you stay in that experience. All right. So, but yeah, it's your environment, the people you are around, do they add value to your life, do they drain you? What are you hearing? What are you listening to? And then you want to give yourself affirmations. Back in 2017, I was introduced to a list of affirmations, and I used to keep them in my car. And I used to keep it. It was a long sheet of paper, about as long as my music book. It was one little sheet of paper, and I actually taped it to my car or right above the radio. And it would take me about 25 minutes to get to work. And I would say these affirmations every day. I was trying to train myself to believe what I was saying. And what ended up happening is, as challenges came across my life in the foregoing months, what started to happen is I would start saying these things because I've said it so much. It was like memorizing the ABCs. So that's what you want to do as well. Find some things that you can say to yourself every single day. And you say, even if you don't believe it yet, you still say it. And if you say it enough, you're going to train your mind to start believing it. And it's going to start being an automatic response. All right. Because some of those things on the list, I didn't believe it, but I still said it. And I said it enough to where my subconscious mind started to believe it. All right. So the objective mind is your conscious mind, this conversation we're having right now. But your subconscious mind, which is the habitual version of you, once you start instilling new habits, new formations, and new routines, it'll override the old version of you. I had an old call I did about telling people you can think, there's two versions of you. All right. There's two versions of you. There's a habitual version of you that's going to do whatever it wants to do, regardless of what you keep telling yourself, until you override it. All right. And it's going to take at least 63 days, by the way, to instill a new habit. It takes 21 days to start developing one, but it takes about 63 days to keep it. Okay. So real quick, seed of expectancy. Remember, it's this expectation means a strong belief that something will happen. And I just shared that a lot of times we expect negative things to happen. And that's just based off of, our upbringing, our paradigm, and that can be changed. All right. So once you begin to evolve how you think, and the subconscious version of you is very positive, then you'll walk around feeling so different. You'll feel so aligned with your faith. All right. What if you walked around expecting your blessings? All right. What if you walked around expecting your blessings? All right. A lot of times we expect to wake up tomorrow. We expect to have the same job. We expect that the 2-week deposit gonna hit. We expect that light gonna turn red. We expect that if you turn on the air conditioner, it's gonna turn on. You expect that if you drive your car on the highway, that the highway is gonna keep you up. If you walk into a stadium, that the stadium is going. You expect these things. All right. So you need to make sure you take that same level of expectation and apply it to your own life. There's going to be an underground process that you go through. All right. Just because now those things that I named, you've seen them before. But what if you don't see it? Just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not happening. We all can attest, whether you believe in God or not, that there's been situations in your life where I say, hey, there couldn't be nothing nobody but God. Ain't no way in the world I made that happen on my own strength. But my faith and his power combined as one, it made it happen. All right. I've had moments in my life where I had no idea how I was going to pay my rent. Right. I've had moments in my life where I didn't have gas money. I didn't even have food to eat at work. Like, I don't even know. It was a struggle back then. A lot of times it was just poor money management, but I didn't know that at the time. Right. But God would send somebody my way. Hey, B, I want to treat you today. Hey, B, I just thought about you. I want to cash app you $20. I'm like, oh my goodness. And I would just break down in tears because every single time he was right on time, right? You have to understand that your blessings will also have resources, not just the bank account or the tools you buy from the store or books that you've read, but the resources are always going to be people as well. He will send people in your life that have a direct obligation to help you. And a lot of times they're doing it out of the kindness of their heart. They were sent to you for their divine moment, right? But understand, just because you don't see it don't mean it's not happening. You don't always have to look there. All right. The beginning don't always look like the end. God is always working in your life. The promise is greater than your circumstance. Last week, I spoke about God doesn't use what you used to have. He's using what you have now. I talked about the engines on a plane. If the left engine goes out, the pilot is not focused on what went out. The pilot is focused on the right engine, what he has. And that's how he's moving in your life. He's focused on what you have, ladies and gentlemen. All right. So remember, the promise is always greater than the circumstance. You're going to be battle tested. Your faith is going to be tested. You're going to be weary. You're going to feel alone. You're going to cry. Sometimes you can't even speak to people, right? Because you feel like you can't even, sometimes I'm in situations where I said, man, I got to get back into bigger associations because I was like, man, I'm so spiritually grounded that I know I can't even go to certain people to confide in because their faith is not where mine is. Sometimes I don't even need a response. I just want you to listen. But I know their response is not rooted in positivity, Mr. Alfred, so I can't even speak to that person. You also have to be careful of who you are speaking to, right? Faith comes before your response to what God says. Okay? Faith comes before your response to what God says. All right? God knows the desires of your heart, ladies and gentlemen, but I feel like in my mind, I feel like this. If I have a desire, a strong burning desire, something I'm obsessed about, something I can't stop thinking about, it triggers God to move on my behalf. It's like B. Burrell got a request. We can feel her presence. We can feel her faith. We can feel her desire. It's time to go to work. All right. We work together. Don't get distracted by the things on the left and right. Make sure you have those blinders on like the racehorses. All right. It's going to be a challenge. It's not going to be a perfect faith journey. It's okay if you slip up. It's okay if you get weary. It's okay if you get discouraged, because that is the human side of us. But if you continue to hold on, keep speaking to yourself, keep listening to things, keep that constant reminder to your faith is so strong that it's a part of your identity. Whew, right? That's what people got to work on, is having a faith identity. That doesn't mean you still won't sin. That doesn't mean you still won't have certain desires. But if you become rooted and grounded enough, you're going to start having a distaste for those things. All right. Me too, Everett. All right. You're going to have a distaste for those things. All right. So listen, my billionaire friend, what are you doing right now to possess the mindset of a billionaire? What books do you own? What financial advisors do you follow? What billionaires do you study? What billionaires' processes and biographies have you read up on? Have you already identified your bank account, the bank you're going to go with, how you're going to allocate your funds, trust funds, stocks, treasuries, right? Investments. Like, you got to be there today. All right. It's not about something that's on the way. That's one thing y'all got to understand on tonight. Every single goal that you desire is not on the way. Like, what you mean it's not on the way? It is not on the way. It was made 10,000 years ago. God created the heavens and earth. He created everything then. What you are asking for is permission for access. Whew. All right. That's one of my favorite things I've discovered when I was in my spiritual journey. I'm never asking God for something he hasn't created already. $1 million is already created, Mr. Alfred. $1 million is already out there, Ms. Green. Right? $1 billion already exists, but what I am doing is asking for permission. I'm asking for access. Well, how do I get access? First, by my faith. Second, by preparation. And third, by expectation. Let's go, be real. Right? How do I get granted access? Right? Faith, preparation, expectation. Somebody please drop that in the chat box. I need that for myself. All right? So, and you just map that thing out. I got this binder. Oh, it's right behind me. I have this binder of what I expect to happen. I have a 7-figure trading account that I'm compounding right now. Right? This is different markers, y'all. God's provision plan, scriptures that I read to my. Okay, wait a minute. Scriptures that I read to myself. My why, right? What's in it for me? Confidence in God's glory prevailing. Showing people that God is center. I'll be able to travel more with my family, my friends, and loved ones. Make all the investments that I've been wanting to. I am the first millionaire in my family. All right. True time of freedom with my family. Because, guys, being having time freedom by yourself is boring. I just want y'all to know that, by the way. It is so boring. All right. It's like, man, companionship and talking to people definitely is a must. All right. Then the next thing is my disciplines and my daily prayer and the plan. All right. And then the next one is where I'm allocating my money. I have no debt, financial advisor, top 10%, 6 to 12 months in the savings fund, 18 to 24 months in a high yield money market account, life insurance accounts, U.S. Treasuries, trust account, SEP, Roth, tax sheltered account, index fund. Like, I already have it. I have this. I printed this back out in March. This is spiritual. And then when I put it on the paper, it became physical. So now I'm doing what? I'm just expecting. How do you expect? Through your habits, through your routine, through your consistency. God has already done his part. Everything that is on this sheet of paper already exists. I hope y'all catching this. Everything that you want. Let's say you even want a house built. Is the house hasn't been built, had the person, listen, you can't just go look on realtor.com and find the house. You have to build the house. But guess what? The house already exists because what? The materials already exist. You're not asking God for something that doesn't exist already. You're asking permission. You're asking for access through your faith, through your preparation, through your expectation, through your routine. Right? And then at the very end of this book, I have who I want to, other things I want to work on becoming. I have a picture of $1 million case right here. I know the thing is blurry, but that's $1 million case right there. All right. I see the vision. I believe it to be here today. I don't hope it's coming. I believe it's on the way. It already exists with me right now. That is the separation. That is the difference between people who truly believe and people who are still maturing in their faith. When you truly believe and you know and you expect and you trust, right? It's not something that's en route. You already have possession. That is the difference. And as you continue to grow and develop your faith, you'll know. Then I have all the places that I want to travel. All right. Museums and amusement parks, skydiving, these different national parks, Northern Lights in Scandinavia. Like, I have the images, y'all. Like, this binder is already in existence, right? So you keep the blinders on, you don't get distracted, and you allow, and you spend time and you get quiet and you ask God for discernment. What am I supposed to do next? What do you want me to do? Because he'll also provide guidance. Sometimes it's not easy to look at other people's progress. It's not easy to look at other people's growth. It's not easy to look at other people's success. But remember, that is not, that their race is not your race to endure. All right. But it is, you have to endure to the end and stay the course. Understand when you are observing, listen, these images and these things that I've printed off, it just shows me not only do I already have possession, but if God can bless somebody else, he's already blessed me, because we are made up of the same image. We have the same abilities. We have the same mind. The question is, do we have the same habits? Habits can be developed. You can have whatever any person has. You just have to be willing to become a certain individual. Remember, faith, preparation, expectation, and your routine, right? Faith and works. Okay. You have the power to lay all distractions aside and all nonsense aside. I did a call about concentration and awareness, and I told people awareness is what you're giving concentration to. Okay. I talked about distractions. Distractions is what you are allowing to have your concentration. That's all it is. Something can't take you off of your goal or off your journey without you giving it permission. If you are allowing your attention, if you're allowing your concentration to be directed on something that is not allowing you to move forward in your life, it is completely your fault. If somebody gets online and they're scrolling mindlessly for 3 hours, that means your goals and your desires don't hold your attention enough. You don't have a burning desire. You don't even have the concentration and the focus, right? You have to lay all that stuff aside and take off the layer that keeps you from running away from your goals, and take off the layer of you that allows you to keep running towards excuses. Take off the layer of you that allows you to keep running towards procrastination and a laziness and doubt and fear and limiting thoughts, right? Again, we said that earlier in the call. What do I need to do to become? As you develop books and audio information completely changes your awareness of who you are. You're not developed in our upbringing, ladies and gentlemen. Nobody tells us who to become. I'm gonna give y'all something, and y'all may not like me after I say this. Okay. Do y'all understand when I'm a little biased about graduations. It makes me cringe. I'm gonna tell y'all why it makes me cringe. When I see people, especially people who graduate like middle school and high school and college, it makes me cringe, because I'm like, man, okay, we're cheering on not learning how to think for ourselves. We're cheering how to take tests. We're cheering that we crammed the book and we got some education. But what society is not cheering is, did you teach that person how to manage their money? Did you teach that person how to manage their body, their health, their mind? Did you teach that person how to meditate and have a spiritual foundation? Did you teach that person what really matters? And so I cringe, because I know if they didn't have a great household, that they're going to go out to this world and they're going to be a part of the 95% who graduates high school or college. They settle into a job and they become stressful because they thought what they were supposed to do was go to school, get good grades, find a job, get a dog, a house, and that was it. So we're not celebrating continuously dreaming. We're not celebrating creativity. We're not celebrating money management, personal development, mindset development, emotional intelligence, financial literacy. That is not what we're celebrating when somebody gets handed that document. And that's my opinion, because I've been there. I don't know if y'all been there, but if you can relate, tell me in the chat box. But there is nothing in the educational system, which is very intentional because that's the way the government has it set up. But it sucks because we could be celebrating so much more. It completely needs to be revamped, right? So that people can thrive more earlier in their youth, right? So when we talk about taking off the layer, a lot of those layers are developed in our upbringing. So I pray that we do come across different paths and people and experiences, information that gives us a level of awareness to realize, yeah, my cousin is about to graduate high school in 2 years. And I thank God that he looks up to me because I'm talking to him about information and things. He's so smart. He's writing a book. He's like 1,000 pages already. And then my other cousin, he's in his first year in college, and he sounds so lost. He's like, I don't know, cuz I'm trying to figure out what I want to do. And it's just like, but I know so many people deal with it. Right? This is just a cycle. So we on this call on tonight, if you see somebody who just has no idea about personal development, picking up books and reading audio tapes, Audible books, YouTube books, right? Or personal development, seminars, workshops, and conferences, spiritual development, mind, body, and spirit. If you come across somebody that is my main role for my family. Like I literally pick up my cousins and family and pick them up and mentor them. Even if I don't even know they're going through stuff, I say, hey, let's link up, let's hang out. My other cousin, I haven't spoken to him in years because his mama took him off the grid. And then kind of found out he was following me on Instagram. I reached out to him, we hung out, and I just poured so much into him. I got some books on the way for him. And so you want to understand, pour into people, lift people up, and allow them, put them in a space to expose them to who they need to become for them to become the best version of themselves. So take off those layers and run towards what God wants you to do, ladies and gentlemen. Remove anxiety, remove depression, remove procrastination, hatred, frustration, and laziness. I tell you this, as you become more sound-minded and in tune with who you are, all that stuff actually just goes away. You really don't deal with it. I mean, again, for me personally, the biggest challenges that I face is just grief. When I started studying finances, I started making more money, started budgeting my money more better. I'm good in that department. I became financially literate, just picked up some books, listened to some people on YouTube, just did it. And then boom, it's not rocket science. And that's the biggest disease in the world is money. And it's such an easy fix, but we don't expose people to the right information for them to fix it. Being health awareness, right? How to take care of your body, what not to eat, understanding what's in foods, understanding that everything that's on the shelf is not good for your body, understanding how much sodium you need to take in each day, sugar, all those things, alcohol, weed, all that stuff. How does it affect your body? It's just all an increased level of awareness. It's just education and awareness, right? Anxiety, depression, hatred, and frustration and laziness, right? It's just all that. Money is not a disease to the heart, mind, and body, my brother. It's not. Money just increases who you already are. All right. So ignorance is disease. Ignorance is frustration. But if you educate it and you learn the right ways of how to manage your wealth and how to build wealth and leverage your job and take portions of your income and leverage it into investments, then you start having this piece where a lot of people spend most of the time thinking about their finances instead of educating themselves on how to get out of their financial situation. They think more about their expenses and stuff. So I don't believe it's a disease. I believe it's just a frustration that has been developed because people are not educated on how money is just paper. It's just a tool. It's a resource, right? It's just like gas, the electricity. It's all that is, everything around us is money. Right? It's so crazy. All right. So, but if you take a thief and he's never exposed to how to be a businessman and he's only exposed to stealing, well, that's now his identity. Even if he was to inherit wealth, he would still steal because that's his identity. Right? So it's all about being educated. It's all about awareness. And if we could get all on the same page as I work my life, love your job because your job is leverage. Be aware of what's coming in, what's coming out. What's your total cost of living versus what's your total income? If you're only making $3,500 a month and your bills are $3,000, well, you only have $500 a month in hopes that you can invest that $500, right? And then allow that $500 to compound over in time into a stock account or investment account or trust fund and grow interest, right? But people don't do that. They want to go spend the $500 because in their mind, waiting 5, 10, 15, 20 years for investments to gain wealth is taking too long, not understanding that we'll prepare for the passing of time anyway, right? First of all, you need to be making 2 to 4 times your cost of living anyway. Most people don't know that. I think every single person I've ever asked that don't ever know. All right. What is my cost of living is $3,600 a month. If I'm not making $7,000 to $14,000 a month, I am suffocating. Right. So those are things you have to know. What do you do with the rest? I just save it and invest it. I don't get excited about spending the money no more, but how did that happen? I became more educated. When I started seeing my savings account, my stock portfolio, crypto portfolio, investment account, start seeing these balances, I was like, oh, I don't care about spending no money. I care for this cushion. I care for having what I call, this is an insurance plan. This is my own, I've developed my own insurance by taking every single year, every pay period, every business, and I take at least 40% of my earnings and invest it and stick it somewhere. So when you see people traveling the world and having this freedom, guys, it was an accumulation over time. Why? Because they was willing what? The sacrifice is greater than, the reward is greater than the sacrifice. But why, Mr. Africa, people don't know that basic information, and so they hate their life. All right. I'm so excited to become so much wealthier because I want to be able to say that and make some type of, by the way, we'll have a generational wealth website built at some point where what we're saying tonight on this call, people will have access to the information. They'll have access knowing to make 2 to 4 times their income. They'll have access to, and it's so crazy because you can go, if you're not really intentional about what you listen to and who you're around, you won't ever hear it. You will never hear it. I don't care how much is online, YouTube, or TikTok. If people don't look up how to save, exactly. Everything is wealth, spiritual, everything, spiritual wealth, financial wealth, physical health, social wealth. That's why we call it generational wealth, because we talk about every single aspect of wealth. Wealth is not just monetary value, right? But you stay tuned to the promise. You stay tuned to God's frequency, and faith is the key into tuning. Faith is the key into tuning into God's frequency. The last thing I want to end with is I want you guys to take some time to, by the way, wealth is an abundance of valuable possessions. Okay. Plentiful supply. I have a plentiful supply of faith, plentiful supply of love and unconditional love and the gift of giving, plentiful supply of knowledge to take care of my body. Wealth is an abundance of information, education, just like you said. In closing, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say, make sure you guys take some time and write up a separation letter to everything you think holds you back. Okay. Once you write it out, we say procrastinate, all that, write down everything that is holding you back on a piece of paper. Okay. That's your separation letter. And I want you to write down anything that's not doing you any favors, any habits, any people, experiences, whatever. Any past resentment you may be holding on to. I want you to get deep into it. All right. Any unforgiveness that you're holding on to, any bitterness, any jealousy, any comparison. If you get jealous or if something in you makes you feel jealous, there's something you got to work on with inside you. There's no reason you should be jealous of anything that somebody has or what they're gaining, because remember, we're made in the same image. The only thing you should be focused on is what was their process? Anytime you see somebody that has what you want, boom, okay, God, thank you for blessing them with a 7-figure trading account. Let me know what their process is. That's all it is. What was their process? I'm gonna do the exact same. Thank you for thank you for allowing me to see it. Thank you for exposure to that blessing. All right. I'm not jealous of it. Oh, thank you for exposure. Thank you for awareness. Thank you for allowing me to see it, because now I can believe. All right. So I want you guys to write a separation letter to anything that's holding you back, that is not doing you any favors. And then I want you to begin your race. But once you finish writing that separation letter, I want you to rip it up. When you feel it, when you really believe and know that the biggest thing on that piece of paper, it should just be 3 letters, is you. Everything that you're going to write down, I want you to get it out your system and see it. And once you get out your system and see it, I want you to say, okay, what has not allowed me to move forward? And ultimately, it's ourselves. Procrastination, it comes from us. Laziness comes from you, right? Hatred comes from you. Jealousy comes from you. Everything is going to be the source. At the end of the day, it's going to be us. All right. So write it down, get it all out, bomb it on a piece of paper, like, brain dump. And then understand at the end of the day, the source is you. All right. But that concludes our call, ladies and gentlemen. Thank y'all so much for tuning in on tonight. Just listen, begin the race after you separate from everything you need to let out on that piece of paper. All right. Woo. All right. We had a great call. Seed of expectancy. All right. That's going to be our hashtag tonight. I know that's going to be a little long. Somebody might type that out so I can copy and paste it. But in a generational wealth community chat, we're going to hashtag seed of expectancy tonight. And any other nuggets that you got, you can drop that in the chat box. I'm sure somebody else needs to hear it or see it and take it home with them on tonight. I thank you guys for your time and allow me to pour into you. Everybody have a beautiful week. Seed of expectation. Remember, faith, preparation, expectation, and the works, the routine, the habits, the consistency. And last 2 things is stay in tune with the promise and write your separation letter and understand what the source is. All right. I love y'all. Have a beautiful night. I'll see y'all next week. Peace and blessings.